who had a pretty large legal practice in New York. He's not a lawyer, but now he's an MP in India. So these were NRIs who had never surrendered their Indian passport. They had always retained Indian citizenship. I am the first NRI to be elected having surrendered my overseas citizenship. Mrs. Sonia Gandhi is the first foreigner to surrender overseas citizenship and be elected in India. I am following in her steps. I am the second. But I'm the first NRI to give up citizenship and be elected in India. I see, it gives me great pleasure. The political function is jaida. Aam taur te, it is full of men. And I think it's a credit to the organizers here. It's a credit to Gary Garewal, Ratan Joya, Jassi Khangura, and Mani Sidhu, and all the other well-wishers, that today it is more like a family event. I see so many ladies, I see so many youngsters, that it is very heartwarming. And particularly to the youngsters who may or may not have been to India, I would like to allay your fears. I know politicians have a terrible reputation. It doesn't matter whether it's a Harry Sidhu in California, it doesn't matter if it's your state senators, and it doesn't matter if it's an Indian legislator. Politicians, generally speaking, have very bad reputations, particularly Indian politicians in India, because they're deemed to be maha-corrupt. कहते होंगे नहीं नहीं ये तो छोटा चोर है चलो छोटे चोर they're acceptable but नहीं नहीं ये तो महा चोर है इन्हें तो बथेरी लुट की दिया. All right, we have a bad reputation. Okay, I haven't come here to clarify their reputation. I think in most cases that reputation is deserved, because where we are today in Punjab and where we are today in India, I think politicians have a lot to account for. They simply have not given the country and the states and the towns and the cities the quality of leadership that they should have. Jinna chir aapa elected leaders the quality nahi badalde, jinna chir aapa choran nu mul ke vota pai ke elect kari javange te ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਥਾਪੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਜਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਵੀ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਚਲੋ ਜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ 2-4 ਪੈਸੇ ਬਣਾ ਲਏ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ 5 ਸਾਲ ਬਾਹਰ ਚਲੇ ਜਾਓ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਮੁੜ ਕੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਵਾਪਸ ਲੈ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ. Until we change that cycle of electing corrupt people and then asking them to take a sabbatical and then bringing them back, I don't think we are going to see substantive progress. There are good people around. In my few minutes, you'll be hearing the word Prakash Singh Badal, the current Chief Minister. You'll be hearing about his son, Sukhbir Badal. Oh, bravo, sare Badal maade nahi hunde. There's a young chap and an honest chap called Manpreet Badal. And I have a lot of respect for him, and I think Punjabis in general, Indians in general have a lot of respect for him. And I'm sure that NRIs have a lot of respect for him too. I haven't come here for any thanks, and I haven't come here to build up any sort of fan base. I don't believe in that. But as an NRI, you read the banner behind us. As an NRI, I think it is my duty, because having lived 40 years in London, if I don't lobby for NRI interests, then I think I'm failing in a fundamental duty. My primary duty as an elected official, as Gurmant Garewalji when he was an MP knew, and as Harry Sidhuji does, as an elected official, your primary duty is for the people, the constituents that you represent, and the legislative work that you do. But I can't escape from the fact that I have spent 40 years in London. And in those 40 years, I was on the other side of the table. We were going to India. We had difficulties, dukh takleefan. And other people, even in those days, used to come to us, because my father has always been a community worker. ਤੇ ਲੋਕ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਖੁੰਡਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਆ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, ਸਾਡਾ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਏਅਰਪੋਰਟ ਤੇ ਆ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, ਹਰਿਆਣਾ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਆ ਕਰਦੀ ਆ, ਸਾਡੀ ਜ਼ਮੀਨ ਦੱਬੀ ਗਈ, ਵਿਆਹ ਸ਼ਾਦੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਝਗੜੇ. I've been hearing that for a long time. So if I remain silent today, I don't think that would be the right thing to do. Rest assured, I don't intend to remain silent. If anybody is going to fight for NRI issues, I'm going to fight for NRI issues. There's 117 MLAs in Punjab. You'll be surprised to know that there's not a single MLA in Punjab apart from me who discusses NRI issues or who is willing to take up NRI cases. I can't be the representative for the whole of Punjab. For me to take up an NRI case, there's got to be a direct link with my area, koi rishtedari, or you originate from that area. But any NRI can come to me. What I will never do is I will never mislead you. I will always give you good advice. I can't take up every case because I don't represent the whole of Punjab. But when it comes to giving advice, I will always give you what I believe is true, honest opinion and genuine advice. We have a lot of Garewals here. 2 Garewals have spoken from this stage. I'd like to mention that I also have Garewal blood. My mother is a Garewal, her village is Laltno, so I'm 50% Garewal. So you have nothing to fear. This campaign, as Bhupinder said earlier, I made a pledge in Toronto. Because in Toronto, fortunately that day, we had a large number of Canadian legislators. We had 4 federal MPs, we had 4 provincial MPs, we had a local councillor, and it was the ideal stage, because what I said to them then and what I say to the politicians on the stage today is, when we go to India, when you go to India, there is absolutely no point ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਮੁੱਖ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਤੋਂ ਅਪਾਇੰਟਮੈਂਟ ਲੈਣੀ ਤੇ ਚਾਹ ਪੀਣੀ ਤੇ ਬੱਲੇ ਬੱਲੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਚੱਲੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਾਪਸ. You know, when your constituency base here has a large number of Punjabis, it is your duty as an elected representative in Canada or America or UK or wherever, it is your duty that when you go to Punjab and when you interact with the government there, it is your fundamental duty that you also appraise them of the issues that face NRIs, the NRI concerns, and it's also your duty to lobby the Punjab government for action on those points. Sadly, I don't see that. I see lots of visiting legislators. They come to government functions, as they did in January last year, to the NRI Sammelan, jehda Badal Sahab ne host ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ January ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ. And I didn't really see too many visiting legislators taking the government to task. ਦੇਖੋ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਚੀਜ਼ ਚੇਂਜ ਕਰਨੀ ਆ, we have to take the government to task. So, from that stage, in Toronto last November, I made a commitment. मैं कहा जी जे तुसी इस साल सरकार फंक्शन करोगी ते तुसी उस फंक्शन पे मैं कहा मैं थानू रोक नहीं सकदा. That is a decision that you have to take, whether you want to accept that or not. पर मैं कहा जे तुसी उन्हां दे फंक्शन ते जाना ते मैं भी काउंटर फंक्शन रखूंगा ते तुसी मेरे फंक्शन ते जरूर आना. ते मैनू लगदा खबर बादल साहब को पहुंच गई, क्यों बादल साहब ने फिर फैसला ही कर लिया भी असी कोई सम्मेलन नहीं करना. इस साल इन्होंने किया कि सरकार ने फैसला कर लिया भी सम्मेलन नहीं करना. There's an NRI Sabha which is headquartered out of Jalandhar. ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਵੀ ਚਲੋ ਉੱਥੇ NRI Sabha ਫੰਕਸ਼ਨ ਕਰੂਗੀ ਤੇ ਬਾਦਲ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਉੱਥੇ ਆਉਣਗੇ ਤੇ ਸੁਖਬੀਰ ਜੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਆਉਣਗੇ. ਤੇ ਹੋਇਆ ਕੀ, ਉੱਥੇ ਕੁਰਸੀਆਂ ਚਲੀਆਂ, ਪੜਿਆ ਹੋਣਾ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅਖਬਾਰਾਂ 'ਚ, ਤੇ ਨਾ ਬਾਦਲ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਤੇ ਨਾ ਸੁਖਬੀਰ ਪਹੁੰਚਿਆ. ਤੇ ਬਿਕਰਮ ਜਿੱਠੇ ਨੂੰ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਵੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਲੜਾਈ ਹੋਈ ਆ, ਵੈਸੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਲੰਧਰ 'ਚ ਹੀ ਨੇੜੇ ਤੇੜੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਸੁਖਬੀਰ and ਬਿਕਰਮ ਜਿੱਠਿਆ, but they dare not turn up. ਤੇ ਬਾਦਲ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਸੀਗੇ? ਬਾਦਲ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਗਏ ਸੀਗੇ ਮਿਸਟਰ VK ਮਲਹੋਤਰਾ ਨੂੰ ਮੁੱਖ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਬਣਾਉਣ. ਲੇਕਿਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਬਾਦਲ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਲੱਭਣ ਗਏ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਟੀਵੀ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਚਿਹਰਾ ਦੇਖਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਕੋਈ ਰੂਪ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗਾ. ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਮੁੱਖ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਗਏ ਉਹ ਹਾਰ ਗਏ ਤੇ ਮੁੱਖ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣ ਸਕੇ. ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਬਾਦਲ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਕੀ ਸੋਚਿਆ, ਚਲੋ ਜੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਤਾਂ ਰਹਿ ਗਏ, ਪੰਜਾਬ ਜਾਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਲੋੜ ਨਹੀਂ, ਉੱਥੇ ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਗਾਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਮਿਲਣੀਆਂ. ਬਾਦਲ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਭੱਜ ਗਏ ਭੋਪਾਲ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਚਲੋ ਜੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਤਾਂ ਜਿੱਤ ਗਏ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਹਾਰ ਪਾਵਾਂਗੇ. ਸੋ deliberately they missed the NRI function which they should have gone to. The function that I did in Chandigarh on the 26th of December, see, that was a fulfillment of the promise I had made in Toronto. Under this banner, we held that function in Chandigarh. The function was well attended. Lots of issues were raised. We had visiting legislators from Canada, Sukh Taliwal, Vic Dillon. Dr. Kala was going to be there, but Dr. Kala, because you had very bad weather in Toronto, his flight was delayed. Dr. Kala couldn't get there. To accompany that conference, we produced a discussion document. Now, I don't know if you picked up anything at the door, but my website is pretty well known. A lot of people come